The other week I was watching Brigsby Bear, a fantastic little film about family and nostalgia and creativity. And one of its central themes reminded me of something that I've been meaning to talk about for a while: the healing powers of creativity. To understand what I mean by that, you have to understand the idea that the context art is created in is often just as important as the art itself. It's a perspective I don't see mentioned nearly enough in contemporary art discussion, but it's something that I often find myself thinking about. It reminds me of one of my favorite works from Felix Gonzalez Torres, where context and presentation strike a near-perfect balance. And I'm a firm believer in the idea that any form of art can be created in a healing context. Creativity is an almost universally positive force, but my explanation of that isn't grounded in science or psychology. It's purely anecdotal, from my own experiences and from the experiences of those who chose to share their stories with me. People like Fluid Fire, who told me that creation was integral to their mental health upkeep, and when they realized that, they were better off. When they weren't creating, their well-being suffered, and sometimes they could even realize they were doing poorly because they hadn't done any art recently. Or Hot Wheels 1994, who wrote an article about the physical and mental benefits of gaming to show just how important gaming was to them. For Memekins, it was doodling that helped them focus on something other than negative emotions. They were often rough, never finished, and no one saw them, but they helped when it felt like no one was listening. That sentiment continued with MHM Gouda, who wrote an entire album as a way to heal from 2 relationships. They didn't record all of it, partially out of laziness, partially because it was too personal, but the writing process helped with the healing process. For Rennie Kryn, the only way to cope after a 12-year relationship ended was drawing and writing poetry. It was all terrible quality, but it was the only thing they knew how to do while they were riding it out. I asked Quinn_Town about their series of Fractal Art, to which they responded, "The art that I make is incredibly therapeutic. I get deeper and deeper into anxiety and depression the longer I go without making something creative. I never thought I would be able to make art I was proud of because I'm terrible with a pencil or brush. But I found a medium that suits me. It's incredibly therapeutic and rewarding for me because it plays into my mathematical strengths and lets me not be hindered by my relative inability to draw." And I asked Colin Horgan about his upcoming game Luka, to which he responded, "One thing I've always liked about games, and something that drove me to make them in the first place, is that they can represent and simplify big, abstract conflicts in tangible ways. This idea became the driving force of my current project, which started during a turbulent part of my life. I was out of school and becoming independent, but was suddenly laid off from my first job with no other opportunities in sight. In the middle of everything, I needed some outlet to put all that anger and confusion, to take these internal doubts and make them tangible. If I can see them and make them real through the game, I can face them and I can overcome." All of these stories remind me of a quote I really like from Robert Redford. "The country is so wounded, bleeding, and hurt right now. The country needs to be healed. It's not going to be healed from the top politically. How are we going to heal? Art is the healing force." So support art, support creativity, and support healthiness. And when the time comes that you need some healing of your own, create something.